everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Chrisley Kennedy, and this is the show where we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course, we give you insight into what it all means. Joining me, as always, is AMC's editor-in-chief, Mr. John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, coming to you live from the Stream.tv studios here in Hollywood, California. We are so glad you decided to make us a part of your day.
We also have at the table, joining us, our AMC Movie News production manager, Mr. Dennis Sen.
You guys ready for the Super Bowl?
Oh, yes. Damn right.
Not only the Super Bowl, UFC is on Saturday, too.
LOB, baby. LOB.
I don't know what you guys are talking about, but football season is over. And speaking of football season being over for us East Coasters, we have my favorite East Coaster in the movie business, editor-in-chief over at Collider, Frosty.
How are you doing today, guys?
Hey, Steve, how you doing, man? Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me back.
For those of you who may not know, actually, Dennis and I, before we started working with AMC, we did another podcast for a while called For Your Consideration. And we actually did it with Steve. And that didn't sound right. We did it with Steve. We actually did that show with Steve, and it's... we've had you on on Movie Talk before, but it was over Skype. This is your first time in studio.
It is.
Good to have you here, man.
It is a beautiful facility.
Now, we've got a couple things I got to touch on quick here before. We're basically going to have mostly an all-viewer question show today, because I know I've gotten a lot of requests from people asking for an all-viewer question show. But a couple of items of house cleaning business here first. We have the results of the first ever AMC Versus. Of course, that aired on Tuesday. Who gave the better superhero performance, Christian Bale as Batman or Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man? Iron Man was defended by John Schnepp. Christian Bale was defended by Aaron Darling. And here's how it broke down. There were 6,338 votes cast. John Schnepp got 3,238 of those votes. Aaron Darling got 3,100 of those votes. However, my vote as the judge at the time, I thought the debate was won by Aaron Darling. She gave the better arguments, which is worth 10%. In this case, that means my vote was worth 633 votes, which pushes Aaron Darling over the top. So the official winner of this past week's AMC Versus is Aaron Darling wins. And our next AMC Versus, don't forget, airs on this coming Tuesday. And the topic is this. Who gave the best performance as Spider-Man? Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield? Don't forget, that comes up on this Tuesday, and we'll have all the voting information for you later. Now, before we get into the questions today that we're going to take from Mailbag and from the viewer chat, you guys know sometimes between when we finish getting the show ready and when we actually start the show, some big piece of news drops. And this little detail just kind of came out this morning as we were on our way over to the studio this morning. It has been officially confirmed and announced. We have our Alfred for the upcoming Man of Steel 2, and we have our Lex Luthor. Alfred is going to be played by Jeremy Irons. Lex Luthor is going to be played by Jesse Eisenberg. And maybe we got the graphics in there for that we can bring up. So it's Jeremy Irons as Lex Luthor, Jesse Eisenberg as... No, Jeremy Irons is Alfred, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Okay, so apparently we don't have the graphics, so that's all right. Dennis, let's start with you. Your first reactions when you hear this.
I thought it was something that was made up. It came totally out of left field for me. I mean, Jeremy Irons, I had heard some kind of rumors about him being Alfred, and so that's not quite totally unexpected, though I always think of Scar when I hear his voice, so it's going to be weird having him as Alfred. But Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, that's totally... He's much younger than I was expecting, and just a different vibe, because Zack Snyder was talking about a Richard Branson type.
Yeah,
Lex
he
Luthor.
wasn't he? Yeah.
So that's why I thought, okay, maybe Bradley Cooper can fit in there. I mean, I personally wanted Bryan Cranston or a Mark Strong or something like that, but Bradley Cooper could work with that Richard Branson type of billionaire.
Yeah.
Jesse Eisenberg, even though he's played a billionaire before, in
a very different kind of billionaire,
in a social network, yeah, it's a totally different vibe. So, yeah, I'm very curious of why they went that route.
Steve?
I want to first say that I give mad props to Warner Brothers for managing to keep Jesse Eisenberg's name completely out of the limelight.
Oh, yeah.
Not one person had ever said online or anywhere that he could be Lex Luthor. I think Jesse is an amazing actor. I think he's one of the most talented young actors out there, and I am over the moon about this casting. I did not want a Mark Strong. I did not want a Bryan Cranston. I wanted someone who was completely unexpected, someone who is not what we're expecting, and I don't want him to shave his head. I want him to have his hair. I want them to break the mold of Lex Luthor. It doesn't have to follow the comics, which some people are going to probably want to, kill me for saying, but I think that we're not going to see Superman fight Lex Luthor in the movie.
Right,
So
yeah.
it's never going to happen, so why have an imposing guy there? Have someone who's young, have someone who's really smart, have, the son of industry, whatever, and I really think that he is going to be amazing. I really think he's perfect casting.
First of all, let's talk about the Alfred thing. I love Jeremy Irons as Alfred. Now, I was advocating Timothy Dalton for Alfred. I thought that would have worked. But honestly, Jeremy Irons as Alfred, dude, if you want to talk about recruiting talent, Jeremy Irons is awesome. It is going to be kind of weird seeing, Pope Borgia, serving tea to Bruce Wayne. That's going to be a little bit weird. And I will always just see scar in my face whenever he talks. But that's a compliment. That's a good thing. So I'm actually very happy about this cast. I didn't see the Jeremy Irons thing coming, but I'm very, very happy with it. With Jesse Eisenberg, I'm with you. I want Lex Luthor to have his hair in this movie. I really do. I think Jesse Eisenberg is a really overrated actor.
That is crazy.
No.
I think he's an
crazy.
overrated. He is basically a slightly better version of Michael Cera. I thought he was really overrated in The Social Network, but as Christine and I were talking about, I don't blame him for that. I thought the character was written as a very one-note character, and I don't know that it could have been played much better by anybody else either. So I don't blame him for that. But basically, he's always just this. This is Jesse Eisenberg. This is how he talks. This is how every one of his characters will always talk from now until the end of time. That's it. That's what he is. However, having said that, I don't think we've seen him in enough films to really know how good he can be. So while I'm thinking he's a little overrated, I'm not one of these guys who thinks, I don't think Jesse Eisenberg can act, because I do. I just want to see a little bit more from him, and maybe this will give us a chance to do that.
I have to say, there's a movie coming out soon. I saw it at Toronto called The Double, and Jesse Eisenberg plays basically two people in the movie. And I don't want to say too much about it. You could probably watch a trailer online.
Right.
But his performance in that might change your opinion about the way, because it's not just one note. He's playing two sides of a coin. And
see, I'm waiting to see him in a role like I'd really like to see something like that.
I think after you see the movie, you might have a different opinion.
Yeah, but I will say this. Despite me saying I think he's a little overrated, blah, 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 but I'll say this. At least he's a real actor. At least Jesse Eisenberg is a real, legit actor, unlike, I don't know, somebody they might cast as Wonder Woman. So I am happy about that. So while I'm not jumping up and down about the Jesse Eisenberg thing, I will say this. It's bold. It's a bold casting. Look, we've said none of us saw this coming. No. It is very bold. Warner Brothers did a great job of keeping Ben Affleck under wraps. They did a great job keeping this under wraps. He was never one of the guys even mentioned or rumored. So overall, I'm going to say I am cautiously happy about the news of Irons and Eisenberg. More happy about Irons and Eisenberg, but at least Eisenberg's a real actor, and I think he has more to show us than he's been given the opportunity to show us so far. So he would have been I liked Michael C. Hall for it. If you're going to go a little bit younger, whatever, I did like Dexter to play that, but I wasn't married to the idea. So it's bold, it's interesting. They're both real, legitimate actors, which is a good step forward. So.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I don't remember what you guys thought of Man of Steel, and I don't know what you thought of Man of Steel either.
For going into the end of October, it was still my favorite film of 2013. Going into October. Now, it dropped down a number of spots for me once I saw a few more films at the end there, but I loved it. I thought it was a great restart for the DC universe.
I liked it, but I didn't love it. So.
And?
She didn't love it.
Not my favorite movie ever. I don't even think it made it on my top 10. I was so disappointed.
I'm going to be like you, and it is absolutely one of my favorite films of 2013. I loved everything about that movie. The first 45 minutes is literally frame perfect. The stuff on Krypton is jaw-dropping. It's everything Green Lantern wanted to be. That's the reason why I'm so optimistic about the sequel, and why,
And there are reasons to be optimistic. I think there are reasons. There are some things we're rolling our eyes at a bit, but I think there's enough reasons there to still be optimistic. All right, that'll do it for that. I'm sure we're going to be talking about this for another couple of weeks, but for now, we want to just get into your questions for the rest of the show. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple of questions from the mailbag, and then all the rest of it is just going to be viewer questions. Now, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to bring up on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Every day we take a couple questions out. We can't get to, we get like 1,000 questions a week, so don't get mad if yours doesn't get picked. But Chris Lee's got a few of them pulled out. And so Chris Lee, what do we got?
Our first mailbag question is from Christian Sullivan, who writes, "Hey AMC crew, I love the show and your various opinions. Keep up the good work. A while ago, you guys were discussing whether the Greek gods should be in the upcoming Wonder Woman movies or not. My thoughts are this. Like the Asgardians in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, why not have the Greek gods as omnipotent aliens? I know this seems like a copycat idea, but I think it can still work if WB and DC can keep their cinematic universe plans in order. Thoughts?"
Well, first of all, it's omnipotent like like my sexual prowess. That's not true at all. I do think Warner Brothers is faced with a challenge that any studio would face dealing with Wonder Woman. They've kind of set up this universe, even with Superman, who is an alien from another world, they try to make it feel grounded in reality. How far do they want to go in the supernatural? Do they want the Greek gods in this new DC universe that they've set up? And I'm not convinced they do, which lends some credence to the whole idea that Wonder Woman's actually a descendant of Kara Jor-El, who crash landed on Earth however many thousands of years ago. And honestly, the idea of the Greek gods, per se, actually being aliens, you're right. Thor kind of brought the idea of these Norse gods actually being aliens from another world. It's possible. I don't know that's the way they're going to go, but I wouldn't guffaw at it. Like, I wouldn't throw my hands up in the air and say, "You're being stupid," if they suddenly suggested they were rooted in some other alien planet. I still like the idea of having Wonder Woman and the Amazons being a descendant of Kara Jor-El, but lots of different ways they can go. Steve, if you're the president of Warner Brothers, how do you handle this?
This is the big question, because they've been trying to get Wonder Woman off the ground for a really long time.
Yeah.
I think that we can look at what they've done in the previous Batman movies and what they did in Man of Steel as what the template they're going to follow, which is not basing it in any sort of science fiction. It needs to be science fact. You know, and that's what, like with Man of Steel, that's why his costume's certain ways. That in Batman, that's why, you know, with Catwoman, the way Nolan developed, you know, the stilettos had to have a purpose. You know,
Yeah.
And I think that
Even the ears were actually just the goggles
right.
and stuff like
And
that.
I think that they're going to find a way to make it that the character is based in science, that the genetics of the character, the superhero abilities, if you will, are all going to be things you can find in reality that are sort of pushed, if you will. But I do not see it as any sort of Marvel thing where they're going to go the godlike type thing.
Right. Dennis, you're in charge. How do you do it?
It's tough because DC is kind of painting themselves in a corner, because DC, their movies are kind of more the realistic ones, you know, especially with the Dark Knight trilogy, and even Man of Steel kind of follows that, where Marvel is more lighthearted. You get some comedy in there. I mean, come on, they got Rocket Raccoon, a raccoon with a machine gun running around.
Yeah.
You know,
you got a talking tree and a machine with a machine
so
gun. Yeah.
Marvel lends itself to be a little more lighthearted, a little, you know, a little quirkier.
Right.
And DC wants to go that. So yeah, having, you know, I think in the New 52, Wonder Woman's supposed to be the daughter of Zeus and what's her name?
Hippo.
Queen Hippolyta.
Yeah.
You know, that's not exactly realistic. So I hope maybe they go with the Kara route then.
Yeah, I do too. But if they find a good way to do it with the traditional Greek mythology, if they find a good way to do it, I'm not going to be opposed to that. But I do like basing it in science fact, like they did with Krypton and everything. I like that too. All right, what's next?
Josh Lathan writes, "What about a Vincent Cassel to play Remy Gambit for a solo film? Sure, he is 47, Jackman is 45, but he speaks French, has done many of his own fight scenes, is in great shape, has the look, and is a world-class actor. To me, it's a perfect fit. Thoughts?"
Yeah, well, let's just get this straight. He is a world-class actor. He's awesome, and he's all kinds of awesome. Watch a bunch of his foreign films. He's really quite solid, and he is in great shape. He can do a lot of stuff. But he is 47 years old. Like you mentioned, Hugh Jackman is 45. Yeah, but Hugh Jackman's been playing the character for 14 years. So you can let that go. Do you start? And we had the same issue about when the rumors about Denzel Washington as Green Lantern. Denzel's a world-class talent, but do you start a new franchise with a dude who's pushing 60?
No.
Do you start a franchise with a dude who is 47 years old? Look, we said this before on the show when those, the speculations start coming up. Well, maybe we'll get Magic Mike as Gambit, even though the studio has not greenlit anything. I said it before, I'll say it again. I think Taylor Kitsch could be a great Gambit. The problems with Gambit in Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine, were not Taylor Kitsch's problems. It was script, it was story, it was the dialogue, it was awful. I think Kitsch can do it just fine. If you're going to go with Gambit, don't introduce another continuity problem in the X-Men universe. Just keep Kitsch. So, but that's why I don't think Cassell would do very well. Dennis, what do you think?
Yeah, he would be perfect 15 years ago.
Yeah.
He has the look, and also he has that quality. I mean, anyone who's seen like Black Swan, he has that kind of...
absolutely. He's got the swagger and
yeah,
everything.
that confidence, that ladies' man, but also got a little shadiness to him.
Creepy.
He would be perfect if he was 15 years younger.
Yeah. And let's not forget, he was married for like 20 years to, or 10 years to
Monica
Bellucci, which makes him the winner at life.
Yes.
Okay, so anyway.
Everything you said is right, especially with that last statement. I have but being serious for a sec, I agree with you. I actually agree with everything you said. I think Taylor was not responsible for the way Gambit was portrayed. That's a script issue. Thankfully, Fox has moved past their issues with that first Wolverine. But the thing I think we should also point out is that chances are Fox made Taylor sign a multi-picture deal to play the character. And they haven't enforced that contract. I'm not saying that they have that contract. I'm saying that it's probably there. So they could bring him back.
If they chose.
If they chose, I think that would be fine. Vincent, phenomenal actor, way too old. They have to cast someone that's no more than 35.
I agree.
Because
you want somebody who can be playing the character theoretically, if all things go well, for another 10, 12 years like Jackman.
And the other thing is,
You want a franchise. You want to do Gambit 1, 2, 3, and then also in all the X-Men movies.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing to think about is that Fox is clearly aiming at making their own Avengers movie with their characters.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four, X-Men, New Mutants, all the mutants. So you want to cast people that can be in multiple films, which is why 35 is the max.
All right, folks. Well, listen, we are now going to throw it open to the chat board. We're going to deal with these rapid fire style to get through as many of them as we possibly can. You guys have been really patient in there. The gatekeeper is Chris Lee, so you need to suck up to Chris Lee if you want your question on. Chris Lee's already got a bunch of them from the chat board pulled out. So, Chris Lee, let's start this rapid fire thing.
Yeah, thank you guys for sending your questions early for me today. Mark Nevitt wants to know what's happening with Independence Day 2. If he's not going to make it, then how about a reboot of Stargate?
Well, they're making it. It's going to happen. It's still a big question mark if Will Smith's going to be there. The director said they've got two versions of the script ready to go. One with Will Smith and one without. And you know what? I'm all for the studio playing hardball with Will Smith and saying, look, we want you, but that doesn't mean we want you so bad that we're just going to bow to any demands you give us. But they got to make a decision soon.
What's funny is I was just going to say I have a friend who's possibly involved who has told me that there are definitely two scripts. I just saw a picture of Will Smith recently that has him way more in shape than he's been in a little while. He's cut. Right. So I wonder if he's getting ready to start filming. And if I'm not wrong, they have a release date for Independence Day 2.
I think they do. And I think they do for part two of the sequels, which would be the third part.
And on top of that, I saw Roland Emmerich on Twitter's thing. He's location scouting right now.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if he's location scouting for Independence Day 2, but he's clearly location scouting for something. I think they have a release date, so you have to wonder, is Will Smith getting in shape for Independence Day 2?
All of these being equal, I'd like to see him in there. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I'd like to see him back as well, but yeah, the studio should be playing hardball. Will Smith is not as big as he was, 10, 12 years ago. He just came off of After Earth, and some of his latest stuff just hasn't been hitting that big with audiences. So in Independence Day 2, I don't think the success of it is solely based on whether Will Smith is in it or not. And
I think audiences are getting tired of seeing Will Smith getting Jaden Smith to be in the films with him. Let's face it. I think that's part of the reason After Earth kind of failed.
That among other reasons.
And Shamhammer, yeah. All right, sorry. We're supposed to be doing this rapid fire. I'm dragging on too long. Sorry, what's next, Chris Lee?
You drag on never. Colin Prime wants to know, I heard that in Transformers 4, human scientists use Cybertronian technology to create their own Transformers. Do you think the Dinobots will be their creations?
That is one of the theories that's been floated around. Let's remember that rumor's been around for a long time and has never actually been confirmed. But you could do a little Jurassic Park sci-fi crossover by saying, yeah, they got Cybertronian technology, then they discovered the DNA from the abandoned Jurassic Park, and boom, you got Grimlock. So I don't know, maybe.
I think it makes sense because, there's no dinosaurs that they're looking at, because I think with the Transformers, they see like the jets and the cars, and they want to manipulate their transforming capabilities to that. There's no dinosaurs running around, so it makes sense that that someone from Earth was doing that.
Yeah. Steve?
I think a lot of answers are going to be told to us on Sunday when they finally unleash some footage during the Super Bowl. And but the most important thing is, what do we have to do to get The Rock in Transformers 4 or 5, even as a cameo, so we can get the G.I. Joe versus Transformers?
Listen, we've had that discussion. I mean, yeah, at some point, I bet you anything, they're at the studio level, there has been some talk about that. I guarantee it. All right, what else we got?
Cards 908765431 wants to know, do you think based on Super Bowl teaser, will Gwen Stacy die?
Well, I have no doubt Gwen Stacy dies this film. I think there's no mystery, there's no spoiler to that. Gwen Stacy dies in this film. I mean, we all know it. They've already filmed the big, and they put out pictures of it. They already had the big funeral scene. They already said the reason they pulled Shailene Woodley, but with the name of the character,
Mary Jane.
Mary Jane. The reason they pulled Mary Jane out of the film was because they felt like emotionally it was taking advantage, and it didn't pay enough respect to the tie that Peter had with Gwen, and that's why they pulled her out. So it's not a spoiler. It's not everything. She's gonna die this film. I have no doubt. Yeah. You guys see it any other way?
No, they have to.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Sal Donato wants to know, do you think Jean Grey will be one of the 4 horsemen of Apocalypse in X-Men Apocalypse?
I've never considered that, but it ain't a bad theory. I mean, actually, that's not consistent with the comic per se, but in the cinematic universe, I like the theory. I wouldn't doubt it. Do you guys?
I don't think so, just because I think they're going to save the Dark Phoenix saga for one of the future movies, so I don't think they're going to do that.
Steve?
I don't know how much I can say right now.
Okay.
I don't know that information. I'm just wondering if by the end of Days of Future Past, if we're going to have a new way of looking at future X-Men stuff.
Yeah, especially with Apocalypse coming up. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of unanswered questions.
All right. Woo!
I can't wait for Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
Ossingtons wants to know, since Disney owns both Marvel and Star Wars,
No, I'm going to stop you right there. No.
Come on.
No, it's not going to, and nobody worth their lick who is even a minor fan of the Marvel Universe or the Star Wars universe would ever want them to make that kind of an abomination. That would be stupid beyond all belief. No.
Patton Oswalt will disagree with you.
Patton Oswalt, I'll sit down and watch Patton Oswalt talk about the crossover all day, but to actually make it, that would be the stupidest thing ever.
The only way I want to see it is in like a Pixar movie, animated movie or something.
Yeah, that could be fun. Kind of an Elseworlds animated thing.
Not a live action version.
It would have to be animation and fun.
Yeah.
Kyle Marquis, Star Wars casting. Do you think we will hear actual casting soon? Is there any chance that the open castings will yield actual characters in Episode 7, or was it a sham?
I never believe open castings. And when you hear open castings, I think the guy who's going to be playing the bartender in the background. I mean, okay. But I do think probably within the next month, I'm going to guess within the next month, we are going to wake up one day like we did today and suddenly have the Star Wars equivalent of the Lex Luthor and Alfred news dropped on us. And I think it's going to happen very, very soon, like within the next month. I don't know if you guys have heard anything different or how you think it's going to play out.
I mean, mostly, open castings for big movies like that are usually for kids' roles because they just can't find someone of that. But once it's like a bigger role, they're not going to have open castings for, Luke's son or whatever, or Han and Leia's children.
Right.
I wouldn't bet against the open casting. I do think that we're going to hear the casting very soon. Remember, the movie comes out a year and almost December of 2015?
December 20. So just a hair under 2 years right now.
They have to start filming the latest of May, but chances are they're going to have to start filming by March or April.
Yeah.
And the script's done. So I would imagine at any point we're going to get casting because whoever's in the movie has to start training for lightsaber battles and for action scenes and for whatever they have to do. So casting's going to be soon. Wouldn't bet against open casting.
You know, I'm going to bet, though, that we've got a Ben Affleck situation here because, I said for a long time, even before they announced Ben Affleck, I said, look, forget the speculation. They've got their Batman. They've had their Batman for months. We just don't know who it is. But I think that's probably one of the things, situations with Star Wars. I think a lot of their key characters, I think they've got locked down, and they have for months probably, and they're just not letting us know who it is yet. But because you're right, they already have to be in training, and they already have to be getting in shape for stuff like this, especially if they're going to be Jedi or Sith or things like
Is
that.
Will Smith in it?
Oh my God, that's it! You just cracked the code. Okay, what's next?
Aaron Kramers wants to know, do you think it's possible that they should reboot the John Carter series? If so, what would you like to see in it? I would like to see it be like Star Wars meets Game of Thrones.
You were in Arizona we were both in Arizona, weren't we, for the John Carter
The junket?
The
Yes.
junket when they screened it. Right. I think you were like me. I hope I'm remembering this right. I loved John Carter. I'm going to tell you right now, I loved it. I thought it was great sci-fi. It's one of the purest sci-fi movies we've seen in a while. I thought it was really great, but it was marketed terribly. And I think I think they could have done a couple things better. But yeah, financially it bombed. There's no way to get around it. It's such a classic. I think they will
asterisk
reboot
this
it.
on you.
Sure.
John Carter is not a bomb. A lot of people say it's a bomb. It made like $400 million worldwide. The problem with John Carter is it costs too much money to make.
Yeah.
Because if John Carter's budget had never exceeded $100 million,
It would have been profitable.
it would have had a sequel because $400 million is fine. That's a lot of money. I don't blame the marketing. It was a hardcore sci-fi movie, which I loved. I think it had problems at the beginning trying to get everyone into this universe. But if you watch this movie, a lot of people had problems with it. Like you, I loved it.
Yeah.
And I really don't think it needs a reboot. It will never be rebooted because it didn't. The property just is, it's a one and done type situation. And it's just unfortunate because I loved the movie and would have loved to have seen sequels.
I really like it, but then as John Schnepp says, it has this. Even if it wasn't a bomb, it has that stench of failure.
It has a stench of failure.
So
on it, yeah.
it's kind of not as bad, but Pacific Rim has that kind of bomb association with it, even though it, I think, technically broke even.
I think it's crossed just barely. It's crossed into profitability.
Yeah.
But not by much.
It has, and also you got to factor in the worldwide numbers with Pacific Rim. It might have only made whatever 100-something million domestically, but internationally it made a lot of money. In China, it made like $100 million.
Yeah, I think overall it made around 450.
Yeah, I mean, you're more
million
likely to see a Pacific Rim sequel than you are a John Carter sequel.
I agree, or reboot. Yeah, for that matter. Okay, what's next?
Kyle Marquis wants to know which director's name carries enough weight that name alone will convince you to go see their film.
Well, I mean, I'm a broken
ton.
record. I'm a broken record, but I mean, if you're asking me for one, it's Spielberg. He's I believe the greatest director of all time. And a lot of people look at me, poop, and say, "Oh, you're saying that because he's modern." Well, Spielberg isn't all that modern, even though he's still doing his thing. But to me, Spielberg has proved he can do every single genre. He can do comedy, action, sci-fi, drama. I mean, you name it, he can do it. He's directed a lot of actors to Academy Awards. He's a consummate storyteller. He's dropped the ball now and again, but so we all have a bad day at the office. But yeah, to me, anything that says Spielberg on it, not as a producer, but as a director, because he'll put his name on anything as a producer these
Yes,
days.
he will.
I will go to see anything that Spielberg produces. There are others, but if you're asking me for just one, that's my one. Who's your one?
If it's my one, it's Scorsese. I'll see anything that he does.
Yeah, good one.
But yeah, there's a huge list of other ones like Nolan, Aronofsky, Paul Thomas Anderson that I'll go see.
If I just had one, Alan Smithy. Does anyone get
It's gone over my head. I'm the
love
one
you,
guy who's
Frosty.
missing out on this. Well, give me the reference.
I wasn't sure. I was hoping someone was going to get that.
I get it.
Right.
I don't. I'm the one guy in the dark here.
Alan Smithy is the name that a director uses when he doesn't want his name attached to the
Oh,
movie.
okay.
So there's a few people out there at
They
home that
do it with
probably-
the screenwriters too.
I think it's directors. I don't know if it's screenwriters.
They have it for screenwriters as well.
Oh, there's a different name?
I think there's a different name.
I'm not sure of that name, but there's a few people at home that laughed, and everyone else is like, "What?
What? They're like me. Wait, this is going over my head.
But being serious, there's way too many directors that I'm in love with to just pick one.
Right.
And you've named two of them. I mean, Rian Johnson, Phil Lord, and Chris Miller.
Yeah.
I mean, the list of people that it's just too long.
All right, let's do 3 more rapid fire here.
I actually have to throw in the Coen brothers because if they make a
Oh,
film,
okay, yeah.
I'm lined
Yeah.
up to see it. So just had to throw that in. Okay, Aaron Brooke Naylor wants to know if we think Rebel Without a Cause will ever be remade.
You know what? The problem is, if it is remade, it's not going to look a lot like the original. Because remember, the original was also made in a certain social context that is a different world today. And so you can remake it and call it something and follow the same themes, but it's going to look like a very different movie. I actually don't think it's going to happen. Do you guys?
I don't think so. I mean, they could make another movie with a similar, story and call it something else.
Right.
I don't think today's audience will, really have that name recognition with it like it would, years ago.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't think it gets remade, and I think that's one of those movies that if they did try to do it, there would be some serious lynching. No BS. Serious lynching.
All right, 2 more.
Oliver Mears wants to know if Marvel makes a standalone Hulk movie, could we see Hulk versus Red Hulk, Abomination, or the Leader?
I think they didn't kill Abomination in the movie that he was in for a reason. I do think that's a good character. I like Abomination, and I like the way they kind of used him in that Hulk film. So I could see them bringing him back. So Red Hulk, I like Red Hulk. I don't know if it works on screen so much. So I would lean towards Abomination myself, but I'm not married to the idea. What about you guys?
I think we will eventually see a Hulk standalone movie, maybe in Phase 4 or something like that.
Right.
I would go with the Leader. I like him as a villain.
Yeah.
I don't see a Hulk solo movie coming anytime soon because I think one of the secrets of Avengers is Hulk in limited dosage is amazing.
It's amazing, yeah.
And trying to carry that for a while is difficult. And he's so powerful that you can't, it's like, who do you have in a solo movie that really can give him a challenge?
Other than an alien invasion.
Yeah, I think that they figured out the secret of the character with Avengers, and I think that, Avengers 2, and you keep him there, or maybe have him in as a guest person for other movies, but that's just my thoughts.
I just think there's too many good Hulk stories that they can draw
There
from.
are a lot of good Hulk stories, but yeah, it is the question about, people watching the Hulk in Avengers, they see Hulk 50% of the time that the Bruce Banner / Hulk character is in there. If you do a new standalone Hulk movie, it's probably going to be 80% Bruce Banner, 20% Hulk, and I think that'll leave some fans dissatisfied. So I think you're right. It's Hulk in moderate doses is what they're going to go for. But I do think they're going to try. Maybe in Phase 4 or something. I think they might try, but
you could
that
also
is a challenge.
You could also bring in Bruce Banner a lot into some of the other Marvel movies.
Oh, absolutely.
Without the Hulk, him controlling his anger, if you will.
Right.
Listen, I think Mark Ruffalo as Hulk is amazing.
Yeah, I thought he was great.
Amazing, one of the highlights of the movie. But I actually don't want to see a solo Hulk movie right now. I'd rather them go after, Doctor Strange or some of these other characters.
Yeah. All right, last question.
Chuck Wood wants to know, of the Marvel characters that could be introduced into their cinematic universe, what would you guys say to Marvel casting Lucas Black as Simon Williams, Wonder Man?
No, I'm indifferent to that one, honestly. I don't think there's enough commercial recognizable. I don't think it's commercially recognizable, but then again, you can make the argument, well, how recognizable is Guardians of the Galaxy? But for my first instinct is no. But I could be convinced otherwise. I'm just saying my first instinct's no.
Yeah, he isn't that well known, and just the name itself, Wonder Man. It just, I think it would cause a lot of laughing.
Kind of like Ant-Man.
Yeah.
I appreciate the enthusiasm, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I think
they got about 40 other guys they want to get going before that.
100%.
Yeah. All right, folks. That'll do it for us. We're all wrapped up. Thank you so much for joining us today on AMC Movie Talk. Don't forget, lots of great movies playing in AMC theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. Don't forget, if you haven't done so already, take a second and click on the subscribe button. It'll keep you up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news, including our Monday through Friday AMC Movie Talk Show, our weekend AMC Mailbag Show, AMC Versus, AMC Spoilers, and the upcoming AMC Coming Soon. Lots of stuff to keep you up to date on. I want to thank, first of all, the guys sitting at the table with me. First of all, our production manager here, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter @ThinkHero and on YouTube, ThinkHero Pro.
The editor-in-chief of Collider.com, Mr. Steve Weintraub. Frosty, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Collider.com and on Twitter as Collider Frosty.
And, of course, our lovely host today, Miss Chris Lee Kennedy. Chris Lee, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram @ChrisLee, Tumblr, The Movie Chick, and Frosty got so much love today in the chat board.
Woohoo! And you can find me on the various social media networks @JohnCampia. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. We'll be back again tomorrow. So until then, my name's John Campia for AMC Movie News. Bye-bye.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.